how are you doing? Welcome, welcome. I hope you are good. I have got one of those lessons to share with you today, and a few questions for you to think about and maybe take to your notebook or your journal, or take them on a walk, or speak them out loud when you're cooking your lunch. So firstly, I want to start on a positive. My podcast was 4 years old yesterday, which felt like a really lovely, I'm going to say achievement, but it feels like a really lovely, robust body of work. And when I began in January 2018, I didn't know that I was creating a body of work. I was basically trying to connect with more people and say things in a way that resonated, and not just kind of hide behind a website or feel like everything that I wanted to say had to be perfectly formatted into 3 paragraphs. I wanted to meet people where they were. I wanted to talk to them. I wanted to have this global conversation, which it now is. So the first lesson in there certainly is just to start. If you've got an idea, if you know how to do the first bit, just start, and then you'll learn as you go. You'll be able to experiment. And certainly when I started, I knew that I just wanted to interview people. I hadn't even thought, and I'd almost disregarded doing mini episodes. And now my mini episodes are more popular than my interviews. And it's a really interesting gear shift as you move through that creative process, because you're learning all the time. You're absorbing the information, you're reflecting, you're thinking about what's next. And I don't often say it, but I feel really proud of myself. The second thing I want to share is, even though it was the birthday of the podcast yesterday, 4 years old, I had all these things planned. What happened yesterday? We didn't have any internet all day. It was I just kept looking at the box of the internet, and it was just flashing like, what's happening? I would go on my phone, I would check things out. I still didn't get any answers, and naturally I went to a place of complete frustration. And when I go to frustration, very quickly I can go into self-sabotage, I can go into overwhelm, I can sometimes feel a bit angry, I can question everything, I can get all in my head. And yes, I did all of those things because I'm a human being with real life feelings. But I really quickly started to try and take the emotion out of it, and instead try and look at this evidence of what this was showing me. And over the last 6 months, I've really been thinking about my business and my life and where I want to go next. And there are so many creative things that I want to do. There are so many things in my life that I want to do. And coming out of 2020, 2021, I think lots of us are having dawnings or realizations, or we have more questions. I know certainly in my friendship group, in my client sessions, that's what people are bringing to the table. But one of the things that was really confirmed yesterday, as I've been working through this process over the last 6 months, is that I really want to have an evergreen business that is really robust, it's full of heart, it's accessible, it feels personable, but it doesn't rely on me having to do one certain launch or building up to one particular month. So my business, I would say, is never going to be that sense where I always launch in April or I always do this in October, whatever it might be. Because due to the moving parts of my life and the other priorities that I have, the other things that require my time and attention, the other things that I want to do, I would much rather take that pressure off and just keep things open. And so almost navigate this next chapter where I can show up full-bodied, full-hearted, full of information, full of energy, but do it on a schedule that works for me. Because what could happen is, if I just move everything to like a launch date or a launch week, what happens if one of my kids gets sick? What happens if we get COVID? What happens if something happens in my family or something happens in my life? I don't want to put all my eggs in that one basket of saying, right, that is when all my income is going to come within that week. And I've always said this about making money, that I never chose to work for myself thinking that I would only get paid once a month. I really want to create that consistency and that ease and flow, and being able to have that transactional experience with lots of different people, not just money, but energy wise as well. I don't want to just focus it on one particular time of the year. So what did yesterday tell me? The fact that the internet was broken. Yesterday told me that I could confirm to myself that I wanted to have an evergreen business. It confirmed to me, oh, yes, relying on one particular day or one particular time is not going to work for you. Because I tell you what, I found it really stressful. I found it really stressful going, oh gosh, I can't do what I need to do because of the internet, and maybe it's got to be this big thing, it's got to be a big production. And I also realized is that I don't want to manage. Oh, why can't I say that word? I don't want to manage oodles and oodles of people. I want to work in a way that suits me. And so I'm going to leave you with some questions today of really giving yourself that time and space to lean in to what does your business and life look and feel like? And is what you're doing on a day-to-day basis, or the tasks or the outputs or how you're running things, are those things aligned with how you want to work? So, for example, because I have other creative projects, so I have an acting agent, for example, and those acting jobs kind of come in infrequently or frequently, depending on when you ask me, I need to sometimes be available at a last minute. And for many, many years, I had my schedule so tight that it was almost like cars were lined up. Nobody could kind of pull out. Nobody could maneuver. And that's how my schedule felt. And I know if I'm going to do my best creative work, or I'm going to serve clients in the way that I want to, I have to, see, I'm doing it even in my body. I have to have that ability to feel expanded. Because when I feel expanded, that's when my ideas come. That's when I can support people. That's when I can find creative solutions, or when I'm inspired, or I can connect with things, or when I'm in the mood to research, or I have those aha moments myself. And so really noticing that yesterday, however frustrating it was to not have any internet, I just saw it as an opportunity to really recognize the data that I'm pulling together. And this is one final thing that I'm going to leave you with today is, if you want to make changes, if you want to make tweaks, if you're working on something, and this is so hard. I actually said this to a friend the other day. Am I going to be willing to plant the seeds of something now that might not sprout for another year? Am I going to be brave enough to commit and trust that process? And that answer is still pending, but it's a really juicy one to think about. But when I was looking at where I go next and where I feel feels really good in terms of my business, you have to come back to those fundamentals of what is going to support you. And the reason I keep coming back to feeling good and feeling supported is because, you know what? When you do that, when you show up in that way, other things will become so much easier. If you wake up in the morning and you walk down the street and you smile at somebody and then you bump into somebody, you create that momentum. You create that positive effect. And so when I'm talking about making these changes and making these tweaks, it's really it's a painful exercise sometimes. It's really, really painful, and it's not what I want to do. So sometimes if I'm looking to make a change and nothing's working, it's like it's sticking, it's stuck in the wrong gear, what do? What I now am at a point where I can say, this is where I go to. I look at the evidence. What's happening? What data am I pulling together? So if something's sticking, I really need to see what's happening. I really need to pay attention to what's in front of me. Because when I do, so for example, if you want to create more money in your business, one really great thing you could do is look at your bank account every day. There's so much data there. It will tell you exactly what's going on. And what people want to do is go, I just want to make the change. I just want more money. How can I make more money? How can I make more money? And actually looking at the evidence that you're being provided with will give you some indication of what happens next. So even though sometimes when things are not working, you want to shy away from that evidence. You don't want to look at it like it feels painful, it feels uncomfortable. Sometimes if something's not working, I'm 40. Why have I not figured this out yet? Why is this still tricky for me? Here's my daughter coming in. Hello, Papa. Hi. She's brought her clothes as well. Here we go. Let's put you here. That's it, so we can't see. Oh, hi. So yeah, that's what I wanted to say as a final point. Look at your data. I've got cold hands, I'm sorry. We're going to leave it there. But thank you so much for watching, for listening. And can you say hi, Luna? No. Okay, no. I'll catch you again soon. And let me know what you're planning, what you're thinking about in terms of your business next, and where you need help. I'm really interested in that. I do free 15-minute sessions, so I would love to hear from you. All right, speak soon, and sending lots of love.